Gibby, hey, the fastest 3 minutes brought to you by Linda's Construction. And we have one of our favorite new guests. He might be on here a lot. It's the Parrot. Tell us about the Parrot, Gibby.
Well, I tell you what, there's only one thing I need to tell you. The Parrot successfully drank 68 cans of his roommate's soda one time in college, and his roommate never caught him.
68 cans?
Well, I don't know. How many was it, Parrot?
69.
I love it. Welcome to the program, Parrot. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, buddy. Good to always catch up, my friend.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, Garrett was able to attend the Alabama-Georgia, the number one game of the week, probably the number one game for quite several weeks, actually.
Let me correct you. He was able to participate in the number 2 game. Because we just got done talking about the number 1 game.
That's true.
The New Richmond Tigers laying a little smackdown on the Rice Lake Warriors. But Garrett, yeah, you were down there at Bama, and I heard you took Moose picked you up in the Justin Livestream plane.
Well, maybe, yeah. It was similar to the Lindis plane that Travis flies all over the country going golfing in, but a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, tell us about it, buddy. I mean, had to be an amazing experience. I know we were kind of chatting back and forth, but tell us about it.
Well, you got to remember 2 weeks ago, Travis, you and I, we were at the Bama-Wisconsin game, and the standard that was set by sorry about that. Scrib, you were there too, buddy. What a jerk. But man, it was wonderful to meet you, Scrib. That just was a great day to visit with you and get to know you and everything else.
But how
day.
was like the atmosphere? I mean, I always talk about the SEC and how that atmosphere is before the games are like. I mean, it's their professional team. There's nothing like it in the country.
Comparatively to Madison represents themselves very well.
Yeah, that's
I
great
will
to
say
hear.
that the biggest difference, the welcomeness and the camaraderie with just new people and having a good time before a ball game was a similar standard. It was awesome. But the bigger difference, at least where we tailgated, it was just a huge open space. There was probably 80 tents, those 10 by 10 tents in this campus green area there right outside of the stadium. That was incredible. The enormity of it all was very impressive.
Yeah, and I know a little bit because I've been down to that stadium. I went there years ago for the Arkansas-Alabama game, and a college student started a business off that stuff, setting that stuff up, certain areas, renting it, coming in, setting it all up. If you go read about it, I can't remember what the guy's name is, but he has a business. But I know that green space. It is crazy, and it's huge.
There's one company that only does AV related stuff in that green space.
Yeah, it's crazy though.
You'll have like 3 or 4 big TVs set up. They'll come up, set it up. They'll come down, take it down. There's probably multiple types of businesses that you could do and just turnkey. People show up, party, watch the pregame, and somebody cleans up after them. Definitely, I'm sure there's multiple businesses.
Hey, how was the food?
What was funny in Madison, I had bacon wrapped meatballs. Down in Tuscaloosa, I had bacon-wrapped wieners. So, comparatively speaking, the wieners win like they normally do, I guess. But both were great.
I love it, not the ball. Well, all right, that's good. Well,
Yeah,
how about the game?
we'll leave it at that.
Atmosphere of the game. Let's touch on that just a bit.
Well, what stuck out to me, we were sitting at the 30-yard line, about 30 rows up. So, Travi, almost identical to the seats we had at Camp Randall several weeks prior. But what's crazy is, what's Camp Randall's capacity?
About 86,000.
Okay, 86 at Bryant Denny Stadium. It's 101,000.
Wow.
So what was kind of crazy was, in order to have that many people, your sideline seats, you're back probably another 20 to 30 feet just to accommodate those extra 15, 18,000 people in the stadium. So the sight lines were good. Don't get me wrong, but you're a little closer to the field in Camp Randall. But 100,000 plus people, the lights, the energy, the cool part that I really wanted to experience was between the late in the fourth quarter when they played Dixieland Delight. That was incredible.
Yeah.
So,
that is cool.
it was a close game, intense and everything. It lived up to every expectation I had. I will say, I went to the Pac-12 championship game last year when Wisconsin played Oregon out in Las Vegas. That was the best football game I've ever personally seen until Saturday night when the Tide beat Georgia. So those are two pretty good games. College football's the best.
Yeah, it
Hey,
is.
I got to correct you on one thing there, though. You might not believe me, but Wisconsin did not play in the Pac-12 last year. Washington.
He
Oh,
said
all right.
Wisconsin.
Washington and Oregon.
Yeah, I know.
If I
I
said
know.
Wisconsin,
Washington and Oregon.
I know what you
Yeah.
meant, buddy.
Yeah.
I know what you meant. I was like,
Washington.
well,
So-
I mean, I was thinking back in my head. I'm like, well, Wisconsin did play Oregon, but that was in the Rose Bowl about
yeah.
5 years ago. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I think you meant Washington. So I got you. I got your
Those
back.
bacon wrapped wieners kind of played with my memory there a little bit.
I bet you they did.
Well, one of the main reasons why we wanted to pair it on here, we always talk sports. You're so knowledgeable about it, obviously a huge Crimson Tide fan. But we also like to know your betting. Garrett, would you say in regards to following it and placing some bets, it's just something that you love to do and have some fun with?
Well, one of those things, what do they say? Sports betting is like sex or in golf. You think about it a lot. You think you're pretty good at it, but if you ask somebody, they'll tell you you're terrible at both. And that's what sports betting is. But I enjoy it and, follow the games and things. And, it's just a kind of a hobby. I don't hunt, I don't fish, but sports are a big part of my life that I enjoy. And it's always fun to keep up with that stuff.
Well, how did your picks go last week? I know I was sitting next to you in the Bama Wisconsin game. I looked over and said, you did pretty well today, buddy. And you shook your head yes. So hopefully that continued again this week.
Well, anytime you win more than you lose, you're doing pretty good. So what I like to do is pick 3 games every week. Don't get crazy, but have a little bit of fun. When you get in trouble is when you pick 30 games one week and you can never win. But if you do 3, it keeps it on the upside. And if you pick 3 good games and you go 2-1, you're a winner. You do 3-0, life's really good.
Yeah.
So this past week, the 3 games that I picked were Michigan, which they were picked by 10 points to beat Minnesota. And what were they up 28-3?
Yeah.
And they decided not to play the second half worth a darn.
Yep.
And then Minnesota came back and covered that one. So that was my loser. And then my other winners that I had, of course, I went with the Tide. I had a really good feeling on that one on the front end. I knew they were healthy. Their offensive line was looking good. And, that looked to be a blowout, easy cover. But then it got kind of scary at the end there.
Yeah,
But
it did.
to be told, even though they were behind by 1, they were still covering the whole time. So
Yeah, for sure.
that was
For
a nice
sure.
one that hit. And then the third one, I live in Sioux Falls, and that's where Travis and I met. I met Travis in college, and back in the day, in the '90s, Nebraska was the big favorite and the big team in the area. So I still follow them closely, and I took Nebraska to cover against Purdue, and they did pretty easily. So 2-1 last week.
But it was a tight game, for a while there, Nebraska-Purdue, which was kind of a surprise. And then obviously, like you said, Nebraska kind of came on and did what I think everybody in the country expected them to do after
Right.
the
Second
tough
half, they
game.
looked really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right, so that's why we're bringing Garrett on. We talked about how you love to pick 3 games a week. And we're like, you know what? Garrett earned the nickname Parrot in college, and we'll cover that on another podcast. But I said, hey, let's have Parrot's picks on here because, people that listen, they're all followers of sports. And, we got a sports book that's close to us here, not too far away. And we'd love to go up and place our bets. So we would love to have a little entertainment segment on here where people can listen and kind of get our breakdown of certain things. And, of course, get Parrot's picks. So what are Parrot's picks, which is not the easiest thing to say this week?
You bet. Well, I take the Mike Singletary approach to picking games. And, Mike Singletary, he was in that famous rant where he just simply says, I want winners. Well, I want to be like Mike Singletary. So this week I got 3 games. I normally am a Big Ten homer, so I'm always taking Big Ten games. But this week I'm not. I'm going a little outside the norm for me. So we're going to go Army minus 10.5 against Tulsa. Army's a fun team to watch, well coached. Run that ball control offense, good offense, decent defense.
Yeah,
I think
they
they'll
are.
cover the 10.5 pretty easy. So I got Army as my number 1 pick. Number 2, we're going with Marshall. They're playing App State this week. The line is Marshall minus 2.5. Give me Marshall on that one. And then we're going out west for a late game, San Jose State. They're well coached, got kind of an exciting offense. They're minus 7.5 against Nevada. So this week, give me Army, Marshall, and San Jose State.
All right, I love it. And there are Parrot's picks for the week. We appreciate you, and can't wait to check in next week to see how well we did.
Yeah, well, we
real
got to
quick, fellas.
decide too. This
All right.
is just his picks. We're just trying to. What are we taking?
Well, here we go. I'll jump in this, no problem. Let's do that because then people actually. But I would definitely listen to Parrott more than you listen to these two knuckleheads. But I tell you what, looking at yes, I'm going to speak for both of us. All right, so I do think that this is going to pains me to say it, but I'm going to think with my brain and not my heart. Wisconsin is favored by 13 over Purdue. I'm going to pick that they will not cover. You have to score 13 points to be able to cover by 13 points, and their offense is atrocious right now. I know that Georgia getting 24 versus Auburn, but I'm telling you what, I think this week they got embarrassed on national television, and I'm thinking that they're going to try to get their way back closer to that number one spot. So I think they're going to – and I got to go with the Tide again, bud, right? I got to go with them. Just because of the Tide. I'm going to go with them. And they rolled the number one versus number two team in the country last week. They were up by 28 before they started scoring. So now I'm surprised they're only a 23-point favorite over Vanderbilt, but that's what I'm going to go with.
So you're going to Purdue, Georgia, Tide, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think all those are pretty decent picks there. The one that's interesting is Georgia, Auburn. I haven't followed Auburn much this year, but I'm a little concerned on Georgia and Carson Beck. He looked good in the second half, but he did not do much in the first half. It's a little concerning there.
Sure.
So
You're going to take Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take Georgia, the Tide, and I'm going to take Wisconsin.
Okay.
They got it. Otherwise, I'm done.
So you're picking the same thing I'm picking, but you're thinking
Well, I don't have
Wisconsin's.
anything in front of me, but I'm just,
okay.
I mean, it's competition.
It is
You understand
competition.
how that works?
So, by the way, last week I won.
Yeah, you were 1 and 2. I was 0 and 3.
Yeah, so that's all right. Solid
The
win,
only
right?
reason I was not 1 and 2 is because I just wanted to be different than him on the Georgia one. I did state in the podcast that if Georgia was at home, it might have felt better, but I did feel like Bama was going to win. I was a little nervous to see how the quarterback would hold up. But, hey, they did it. I mean, it was a great game. Great game.
All right.
It'll be interesting to see how they get. So, all right, that is your fastest 3 minutes brought to you by Linda's Construction with the one and the only, the Parrot.
Thanks for your picks, buddy. We'll see you next week.
You guys.